This is your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for Monday, December 22nd. It is not business as usual for officers in New York City today after the shooting deaths of two of their brethren this past weekend. The Patrolmen's Benevolent Association has issued a memo regarding police responses in the city. Quote, starting immediately, at least 2 units are to respond to every call, no matter the condition or severity, no matter what type of job is pending, or what the opinion of the patrol supervisor happens to be. In addition, absolutely no enforcement action in the form of arrests and/or summonses is to be taken unless absolutely necessary, and an individual must be placed under arrest. These are precautions that were taken in the 1970s when police officers were ambushed and executed on a regular basis. The mayor's hands are literally dripping with our blood because of his words, actions, and policies, and we have, for the first time in a number of years, become a wartime police department. We will act accordingly. A third NYPD officer was almost gunned down in the Bronx this weekend by 17-year-old Raymond Leonardo. The offender was spotted with a weapon by police, aimed at the officer, and fired. Fortunately, Leonardo apparently had run out of ammunition. The teen had previously been firing at windows. Regina Sinsick, a gun control advocate and independent filmmaker, has made a gun control ad that encourages teens to do the worst thing they could do with a weapon: take it to school. The ad depicts a teen putting a weapon that may or may not be loaded in his backpack and then giving it to a teacher after class. The reality of such a scenario was pointed out by Bearing Arms. Quote, in the real world, such an act would result in the boy facing numerous felony charges. Exact charges depend on state laws, possibly including weapons theft, unlawful possession of a weapon by a minor, illegal concealed carry of a weapon, carrying a weapon onto school property, assault, and brandishing. Sinsick's PSA could result in a rash of weapons making it into schools, with the potential for accidental harm coming to students increasing radically. This is Liz Harrison, and this has been your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for Monday, December 22nd.
DLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
2 minds are better than one. Time for the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Well, good afternoon, America. Welcome to the show. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. Special week this week. We're going to be all Kwanzaa all day long, which is wonderful. We're going to celebrate that. If you'd like to call in and give us your favorite Kwanzaa stories, gather around. The number's 412-567-6879. Also, you can live tweet us during the show. On Twitter, we're at The Right Mics. And Miller, Twitter is it's a social media thing. People use it on their what we call smartphones. Just not sure how aware you are.
I read up on it over the weekend. By the way, also over the weekend, I'm glad you did announce right off the bat that today is Kwanzaa Day. I picked out a couple of my favorite Kwanzaa tunes, and you think you're the guy on YouTube, dude? By tonight, when we update the blog, I figured out how to not only do a video with those, but to have the little bouncing ball, going across the lyrics. So you pretty impressed?
Oh, I am extremely impressed. You know what we need to do? We need to figure out a way to do a mashup of both of our favorite Kwanzaa songs with our own singing over the top.
Well, and again, I mean, we've already broken new ground on the right mics by singing once. I think that's an excellent idea, man.
Yeah, it's I don't know about you, man, but it has become more and more and more and more and more and more an important holiday, a part of my daily observation. And frankly, I've realized Kwanzaa is not something just for the winter solstice celebration season. It's something that lives in your heart every day, all day.
Well, that's true, and setting aside the fact that it was made up by well, let's not mention the color, that would be racist, by a radical, in the 60s, I believe. We should set that aside because values are values, and it makes no difference what your background is.
I did notice this, though, as I was my girlfriend, she had a birthday last week, and so I was buying a birthday card for her, and there is a dearth of Kwanzaa cards, at least at the local store. It's like, I'm shocked. I mean, there's a lot of Christmas stuff. There's a little bit of Hanukkah. I mean, Hanukkah's a super minor holiday for Jews, but because of the time of year, it's got a higher profile, of course. But there was as many mock Seinfeld Festivus cards as there were Kwanzaa cards. Obviously, I've written a letter to the store. I'm organizing a protest.
Yeah. So we'll do Kwanzaa today. We should do tomorrow, since we're only on Monday and Tuesday this week, we should pick out, maybe do a little triage between ourselves, try to narrow down our favorite Muslim holidays. And we should then do one of those tomorrow, man.
I said something. I was reading a Mark Stein editorial last night about, the latest Muslim nonsense. And so I sent a tweet out really early this morning. It was probably 4:45 California time. I just couldn't go back to sleep. And it was... let's stop with all the anti-Muslim-y attitude about next week's non-religious killings, okay?
That's pretty
And
good.
that got some. But you know what, man? I mean, we're just starting out joking. There's a lot of stuff that happened this weekend, and we need to start going through it. Obviously, we've got a friend of the show, Mark Tapson, with 3 more awesome, brilliant articles for us to wade through with him. But I know you wanted to talk about New York City. As of yet, I could not get de Blasio to agree to come on the show. So why don't you lead, brother?
Well, I think, just to recap quickly, most folks are aware of the story. We had two of New York City's finest. One guy is Wenjuan Liu, married just 2 months ago, by the way. The other, Rafael Ramos, father of 2 boys, youngest 13, shot and killed execution style as they sat in their car. Reports say they may not even know what happened to them. Ishmael Brinsley. We, again, will not mention the color of his skin because that would be racist. But let's leave that at the fact that he says, A, it was revenge for the killings of, Eric Garner and Mike Gentle Giant Brown. Witnesses say that he said, watch what I'm going to do. He went into a shooter's stance. And this is what I want to talk about. I mean, there are multiple examples, excuse me, of just, man, I don't even know what the adjective would be, but stuff, let's call it stuff, because we're a family-friendly show, that happened beginning right after the shooting. Reportedly, some witnesses clapped and laughed. They deserved it. There were worse things said. There was a chant, F the cops. And it just degenerates from there. That's very disturbing to me.
It's staggeringly disturbing. It is. I mean, you go to Drudge, and pretty much Drudge is I don't know, the top 7 or 8 different stories are different aspects about how the police are responding to the things that Bill de Blasio had to say. There's stuff about Sharpton. There's stuff about Charlie Rangel. I mean, it's just there is the one thing there isn't a whole lot of, at least I think as of yesterday afternoon, I don't know, there wasn't a whole lot of commentary from the president.
No, and are you shocked? Me neither. Nor Eric, my people Holder, nor obviously Sharpton. But I mean, if you just isolate the responses that there were, trying to deflect, not absolve, but to deflect, place blame elsewhere. Just a few headlines. NAACP blames guns, not anti-cop protests, for murdered police officers. Here's just a snippet. Yesterday's fatal shooting of 2 police officers in New York is shocking and tragic. See, they say this so as to be able to say what they really want to say. NAACP Legal Defense Fund and the lawyers, blah, 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 extend their condolences. But here's the money shot. Quote, these 2 killings, like so many other unfortunate incidences of gun violence, provide a stark example of the need for sensible gun control measures. So not only deflecting from the cold-blooded murder by this guy, Michael, but the NAACP blaming it on lack of gun control.
Yeah, because, well, what's interesting to me, though, is I've only been to New York City a couple times. Like the city, there's some interesting. It's the center of worldwide capitalism. There's a bunch of great things about New York, but I do have to claim a certain amount of innocence with regard to various different codes and restrictions and law enforcement, related issues. But correct me if I'm wrong. Shooting and killing somebody is illegal still. There,
of course. And you know what? I actually misspoke. I said lack of gun control. That's hardly the case in New York. I mean, following Sandy Hook, Cuomo, knee-jerk reaction. No, I know a knee-jerk. It was Rahm Emanuel. The best example I can think of in a long time, where Emanuel said, "Never let a good crisis go to waste." So Cuomo acted upon that horrible crisis and enacted among the strictest gun control in the nation. So it's not a lack of gun control. According to these people, NAACP and guys like Cuomo and de Blasio, it's literally a lack of gun grabbing, taking guns away from people, which is ridiculous in and of itself. But absolutely. So there's the NAACP, okay? Here's on weasel zippers. Brooklyn Democrat leader. It's kind of like the NYPD's fault that these 2 cops were executed. This is Zip's headline. Were executed due to an over-proliferation, and that is a word from the article, of police abusing black men. The actual headline, CBS News, will NYPD officers' murders derail the protest movement? So CBS being more concerned with, oh, damn, I wonder, we may have to go on the down low here in promoting this nonsensical protest that continues because of the murder of these 2 police officers. I mean, I find that, again, just reprehensible.
It's, what I missed is the Al Sharpton and that entire group, the mob mentality of, what is it? Raise your hands. What's the thing?
I'm sorry, I was reading something.
Is it raise your hand or hands up, don't shoot or whatever?
Oh yeah, hands up, don't shoot.
Or the no.
I can't breathe.
Can't breathe, or no justice, no peace. Does any of that stuff have any influence on this, or no?
On what happened?
Yeah, on this guy and creating a climate, so to speak.
There's absolutely no question. I mean, I would take it a step further. What was the chant? Who do we want? The cops. How do we want them? Dead. Who do we want? The cops. How do we want them? Dead. That stuff is allowed to continue. Listen, who was I talking with this morning? Liz, I think. If a group, let's say that you don't have to go all the way to the Tea Party. If you just had a group chanting in the street,